Morning. What did you want to be when you were a kid? Like when anyone asked you, what do you want to do for work when you're older? And if I go way back, I remember when I was about, I want to say like 4 or 5, maybe 6, someone who should have known better. When anyone asked me what I wanted to be when I was older, I would say a butterfly. And people would say, oh, do you want to like be a person who dresses up as a butterfly? And I was like, no. I wanted to be a butterfly. So thankfully that didn't last too long. But the next idea that I came up with after seeing that people were kind of thinking that I was a weirdo was after watching the cartoon The Smurfs, I thought, it'd be really cool to breed and raise Smurfs. And that obviously wasn't going to pan out for me either. So I do remember sometime around third or fourth grade, I had told my dad that I maybe wanted to be a counselor. And so then I would have him telling me problems, like making up problems that I could talk to him about, until he ended up telling me a story about how one brother severely injured his little brother and he felt bad about it. And I was like, Dad, pick a new one. And so then my thoughts about wanting to be a counselor kind of flew out the window. But when I was in school, I struggled academically big time, which was a much different experience than what I saw my siblings going through. My sisters are the most book smart people in that I had ever met. Like, I was like, whoa, like if anyone's going to amount to anything, people who are book smart are the ones who are going to do it. And I was always in like the special reading classes, and they would pull me out of, your regular class and be like, okay, I want you to read with this one person. And I would read with them, and they'd say, okay, you can read fine, but you're not doing well on your test score. So they'd keep sending me back. And that happened through elementary school to middle school into high school. And they even tried doing it to me in college. And I started realizing that I was just not really focusing when I was reading. I was just getting distracted, and I was a daydreamer. And but yeah, so all my life people had told me, you're not cut out for college. And I remember even in high school, I took the ACT test, and the guidance counselor called me in and reviewed my scores with me, and she said, you're really not cut out for college. And I told her, I said, that's fine. It's not like I want to be a doctor or anything. So all my life, ultimately I was just excited to graduate high school, because in my family, that was kind of considered like optional. And, if you did, cool. If you didn't, whatever. But then all of a sudden I started to just watch what other people were doing in life to see what would I actually even want to do. And I just didn't think that college was something that I could do. I'd always been told too that you had to have 2 years of foreign language before you could be accepted into college. And anytime I wanted to take foreign language in high school, I wasn't able to take it because I was in the special reading classes. And so I'm like, well, okay, well, that's another reason why I can't go to college, right? And so anyways, when I was having my second child, Zachary, I decided that, when I would, see nurses walking in and out, that would be like a fun job for me. But I had it in my mind, like, am I capable of even going to college? And I had a friend at that time named Tina, who her and I worked together at the mortgage company that I had. And she started going to college for something, and I kind of thought, okay, I think her and I are at least, on the same wavelength, and she's doing well in college. And I wonder how she got in there. I wonder if she had the 2 years of foreign language and all this stuff. And so that, it was kind of what gave me the courage to at least try, was seeing another person who I thought, okay, if they can do it, certainly I can too. So keep in mind that everything that you do might be inspiring someone else to do what they're maybe too nervous to do, but feeling led to do. So thank you, Tina, so much for inspiring me to show that it is possible to go to college and do what you want for a career. But as I started telling my family members, like especially my dad, and if anyone knows how I feel about my dad is my hero. Like I love, 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 love my dad. Like, yeah, I could go on and on and on about that, but I love my dad. And when I told him that I was going to be a nurse, he was like, Jamie, no, you would make a lousy nurse. And if anyone who knows me, they would understand what he was saying. I don't feel like he was trying to be mean about it. But I was terrified of needles. Like, absolutely. If I just saw a person getting shots on TV, I would have to cover my eyes, and I would have to, like, I don't like seeing injuries. I don't like emergencies. So when I told my dad, hey, I'm going to be a nurse, he was like, no, you would be a lousy nurse. But if you talk to my dad now, after he's seen me put in all the time of going to college and working at various jobs, and my dad has a different opinion of me now. And he actually was the main reason why I was able to go back to my postmaster's program to get my psychiatric nurse practitioner certification. He was the one who was watching my kids when I was at work or running to clinicals or whatever else. So my point being is that sometimes people that you love and people who know you well may discourage you from doing something that you feel called and led to do. And you have to decide if you are going to listen or if you're not. Because I think I heard Joel Osteen one time talking about God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And I certainly was not qualified by a guidance counselor's opinion for going to college. I wasn't qualified by my dad to go be a nurse and poke people with needles if need be or whatever else. And he wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. But I felt led to do something that was outside of my comfort zone so much that I had to push past what other people were saying that I was not capable of or that I would not be good at to get to where I am today. And I'm so thankful that I did that. But that was freaking scary. It was so scary. And I even remember that when I got to the point where I had finished my nursing degree. So I had my associates, my registered nurse, and I had a bachelor's degree in nursing, and I was working in the hospital. And I had realized, I'm not a huge fan of working in the hospital. I want to keep continuing my education to become a nurse practitioner. And even some of the nurses that I worked with were discouraging me when I told them that I was going on. And, some of them had the idea of, hey, I've been a nurse for 20 years. What makes you think that you should be a nurse practitioner if you've only been a nurse for a few years? Like, do you think that you're, smarter than us? Do you think? And I was just like thinking, holy crap, like, no, not at all. These nurses could have ran circles around me. But I knew that that wasn't where I wanted to stay. And so even though they were nurses that I highly, highly respected and looked up to, I didn't necessarily agree with their advice or their opinion on whether or not I should further my education. So do you let other people's opinion dictate what you decide to do with your life when you feel led to do something? And it's tough, because how do you distinguish what advice you should be listening to and what advice that you should be ignoring? And we don't necessarily always know the difference. And sometimes we're going to be rewarded for going against advice, and sometimes there's consequences for going against good advice. But it's getting to the point where you know yourself enough, or you're willing to take the risk, or I don't necessarily have a good answer for that. But my whole point is if I always listened to what other people had to say, I wouldn't be able to do the work that I do now. And that would be incredibly disappointing. Like, I would have so much sadness, and I feel like there would be so much wasted potential. And so if there's anything out there that you are just kind of thinking, I would like to do that, but I'm not capable, I want you to sit there and think, is it because of what other people have said, or because you're afraid, or is it because It's actually something you should be doing. So you have an awesome day, and I will see you tomorrow. Talk to you later. Bye.